Can't miss that paint scheme. It's a good-looking paint scheme. The 88 of Brian Winkler. Robert Mercer in the 30 finished 10th. Now, here's one we need to talk about. Finishing 9th, first time behind the wheel that he can barely see over is McLean Bedoin.
12 years old.
What?
12 years old in that
on the
17 car.
lead lap.
Wow.
And here's the funny thing. Watching him in hot laps qualifying, watch him in the heat race, that car wouldn't turn if it was on a rail. It was set up for drag racing. Come in, turn the wheel. The wheels would be cranked all the way to the left and going straight to the wall. Have to hit the brakes, slow it down, get back on the throttle. We watched it all night long.
We watched it Sunday, too.
You'd have to reset that car.
The main event came out, and I don't know if it was even the same car or driver because it was
on fire.
100% different. I mean, it was crazy to watch what they changed. And I don't know if Norm Davis or Dybel, whoever it was that talked to him, said, hey, look, here's how you do this. And it didn't take a whole bunch of talking. He's like, kid, I mean, we've seen him race the karts, come up through the ranks. He's a talented driver. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
12 years old in a super sport.
I never thought I'd see it.
I don't even know what to say about that.
I'm impressed.
But I am. I mean, the way the kid handled the car in the feature, and he didn't crash anybody, didn't tear up his own stuff. When he did get bumped and banged around a little bit, he got out of the way.
Respectful driver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's 12 years old, but he's a veteran of the game. He's been racing since he's 4 years old. I mean, he understands how to race, and there's a big difference than getting in a race car and trying to drive it. Mm-hmm. Knowing how to race, and at 12 years old, have a grasp of that. It's pretty impressive.
With those super sports that are notoriously amongst the drivers are known as being hard to handle.
And they bang doors. Those guys, that's a bump and run racing.
It is a bump to pass class, but at the same time, finishing on the lead lap, only 6.5 seconds back from your feature winner, at 12 years old. I mean,
not a bad debut.
Next year, that 17 machine is going to be a threat.
I won't argue that. I won't argue that at all. It's great equipment. Got a great crew chief in Norm Davis helping set that car up, and with Dan Dybel and those guys working on it. It's a Swartz. That's what they do. Yeah. It's got Ford power. That's what they do. And so far, the combination with the Swartz and the Ford on the dry slick at Willamette has been.
It's like Rayburn's with boards.
Back in the day. That's right.
Back in the day.
I mean, you're having a really hard time trying to beat those things right now.
Yep. 8th position held down by the 99 of B.J. Donofrio. Mm-hmm. Mike Becker had a great run at 7th. Mm-hmm. Dave Miller in the 55.
Took a wild ride. He came right into the Moxie action cam on the backstretch.
Yes, he did.
Oh, my gosh. Glad to see he was all right. He took a wild ride a couple times that night, had broken deck, and the rear spoiler was peeling off in the right corner and damaged, and he just said, you know what? Let's run.
Hammer down.
And he did, and he drove her back up into the top. What was he, 6th?
6th.
Yeah.
Clay Debin in the 84 machine cracked the top 5. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. 4th place was held down by the 74 with Dan Dybel behind the wheel.
Surprised in the sense that it didn't win.
Yeah.
I mean, it was coming in looking for its 10th win in a row. That car had won 9 feature wins in a row with 3 different drivers coming into night number 1 of the Fall Frenzy. 9 in a row looking for win number 10. Huh. I mean, unbelievable. We haven't seen domination in the Supersport division like that since we saw it with Dick Bosshart when he was back in the old sub, the Big Town Hero car back. You were probably.
I was probably in diapers.
You were probably, yeah. We're going back in the day, but Dick did that back then. What Dybel's doing now with that 74 car.
Yeah. 3rd place was the 13B of Randy Barley, defending track champion.
Yeah.
Here's one that had a great night. The OG machine of Doug Elkins finished in 2nd.
His career best finish.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a whole bunch of time in a race car, and this is a guy we've watched progressively work through the field and really gain a ton of improvement over the course of the season. A 2nd place finish was a good run because that car was he was so good. Exit out. He'd get that car in just before the exit. Remember, Don? We were talking about it.
Yeah, that car's awesome.
He'd drive it in, and we get turned just before the exit, take a set, and then exit out. He was just a ton of forward bite in that OG car.
Rocket ship out of there.
It was impressive. They figured something out.
You talk about him improving lap after lap after lap. Look at where his best lap time came in. Lap 15 of 15.
Yeah.
It was a  17.330, which was leaps and bounds faster than a lot of people, but not faster than your feature winner of Chris Mott.
Mott was just the class of the field on night 1.
He turned in his fast lap. They turned in was a 17.130. Finished 1.243 seconds ahead of Elkins.
Yeah, he was at one point. I thought he might have lapped half the field. I mean, he was so far out by himself. He didn't have to drive the car hard.
Wow.
See? Look at that. Mike Patterson and I are on the same team. First on race day. Look at that.
I'm going to bite my tongue because there's some other we won't talk about what that means. We'll do that off the air.
First on race day, man. WWW.
Dom, I'm with you.
No.
I feel your pain, brother. I feel your pain. Some guys you just can't get right.
No.
Yeah.
But Chris Mott on night 1, the driver out of Salem, he won the first race of the year, and I think he's got second 6 out of the last 7 races. I mean, he has been so close. And a second place to the 74 is it's like a win when you're racing the rest of the field. Because 74 is gone. He's out by himself doing his own thing.
Well, you are racing the 74. He's behind you trying to get you again.
Pretty much is what it's kind of almost seems like at this point. That car has been just absolutely dominant, unbelievable. But for Chris Mott, he got out of traffic early. He got, and we had one caution, I think, in that race.
We went red. Or no, we went yellow for
Dave Miller.
For Dave Miller.
Yeah, I think there was only one. Maybe there was 2. But regardless, truly nobody had anything for the 16 of Mott. That car it wasn't just fast on the exit. He drove that car into the turn harder than anybody else, and he was on the throttle before anybody else. And he had a huge lead when the caution came out.
Mm-hmm.
He was gone.
And then everybody stacked back up behind him. You can just see him sitting there going, seriously, this isn't funny.
Well, yeah, it was neat to see him because you do the interviews every week, and second 6 out of 7 races, you can't complain about that a whole bunch, but that's got to be frustrating knowing that your car is performing that well and just can't get over the edge of that 74.
There's just that little bit more you need.
They found it. I think they found it this weekend because he was fast both nights. I mean, he truly was. That 16 car's been fast all year, but they were just missing something. That one little piece, that little dash of salt, and they found it, I think.
Mm-hmm. So let's move into the modifieds. Good field of modifieds, 18 showed up.
Tough field.
Tough field. I mean, when you start talking IMCA modified racing in Oregon, where do you go to see the best action?
You go to Willamette Speedway.
Absolutely.
You do.
Hands down. I mean,
the modifieds like Willamette because of the size, the width. It's for that type of race car. It really fits.
You can race 4 wide easy, 5 you're pushing it, but I've seen it done.
And that's not a class where you see a lot of guys put a bumper on each other. You will every now and then, but it's not. You can't do what you do with a late model. You can't just drive up and rub them. I mean, you've got to be careful with them exposed front tires.
Oh yeah.
Willamette fits the modifieds, and they really, really like it because of the size. It allows them to race each other.
It was nice to see a good car count because the week before it was really down.
Yeah, it was terrible. 5.
Yeah.
But let's go through the field real quick. 18th by a DQ, Mike Swear.
Yeah.
17th place, Brandon Biffle in the 09 machine. Haven't seen him out at Willamette Speedway.
First time this year. Yeah, and he wasn't. I think night 2 he wasn't too bad.
Yeah. 16th, the 17E of Toby Ferrando. 15th, the V13 of Gray Ferrando.
Let's talk about that because he had won 3 or 4 races, 4 or 5. I mean, he was really.
He was on the roll.
He was on a roll. Now, to see him that far down, if you didn't know what happened, looking at the list, probably going to surprise you a little bit. If you missed the races and you went to just look at results on the website, you're like, whoa, what's Ferrando doing so far back? And 15's in a field of 18. He took probably the wildest ride of the weekend when they came out of turn 2, and I don't know if there was I know he's getting around a lap car. He was getting around the 98D of Dan Scheller. I'm not sure if there was contact or if he just kind of grabbed the wall. I didn't see the initial. All I saw was the V13 up. I mean, I could read the number from the Moxie Tower like he was on his, which he was on his side. And Dom and I are kind of like, oh, well, no, you weren't there. It was Warren.
Saturday, yeah.
But there was sparks flying. You could see the V13 up on 2 wheels. The other 2 are up on the fence, riding down the wall, and he sets it on the ground, and he drove out of it.
Well,
like,
and
you got to be kidding me.
I didn't see exactly what happened, but from everything I've kind of found out, it was one of those situations where they were 3 wide. I don't know who the far inside car was. I do know it was.
You can see it on Moxie Media Promotions. We actually have the video
it on video.
up. Yeah.
And it's the 98D and then the V13, and everybody migrated to the wall, and Gray was like, well, I want my track position. He went up on that wall. He must have rode probably about over half of the backstretch
I'd
wall.
say he's probably up there for 30 or 40 feet anyway. But I'll tell you something. That's a whole new definition to high side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. In the straightaway.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting in turn 1 looking up, and all I see is sparks and a blue roof. I'm going, who is that? Wait a second.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Sam Pettit, our video tech guy at Moxie, did a fantastic job blending the Dave Miller action where Dave got turned on the backstretch and comes backing up right into the Moxie camera. I mean, it looks like he's coming right into your living room. And then if you watch the second part of the video, you'll catch the Gray Ferrando accident.
Well, I know Sunday when we got there was just tons of pieces on the ground from that car.
And how many people asked us, did you get that on video? Did
you
get
that
on video? Did you guys get that? Did you see that? What happened? We'll put it up.
Don't worry.
Let Sam do his magic.
Down.
Let Sam do his magic.
I mean, I just seen spindles and control arms and everything on the ground. I remember it
man.
was tore
Gray,
up.
well, we stopped over it.
Yeah.
First of all, we did our pit walk, and we wanted to see if Gray was all right and make sure everything was good with him. And they were working on that race car, and boy, there was a lot of stuff to replace.
We ended up having to change the motor.
Change the motor. I think most of the front suspension.
Yeah.
There was, I want to say some of the rear suspension was tore up pretty good. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. They got it fixed and got them out.
When you rail grind that much, there's going to be some stuff that's jacked up.
Right.
But it is what it is. 14th place, the 21A of Matthew Drager. The 44P of Sam Potter held down the 13th position. 12th position was a 6M of Dustin Cady, who actually turned in your fastest lap time with a 17.770.
The 6M was on the go. That is a good race car.
What have I told you about that race car with that driver?
You've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, and okay, we've received the message.
I'm telling you, man, that combination is lethal.
You've had your eye on him. You've been watching him, and yes, you're right. That is a car that we will see.
Well, even Drager, he's been creeping up faster and faster this part of the season, and then those two guys finishing back. I think there was a Uke tire involved with them finishing that far back, but
there was a couple guys that got bit by that down in turns 1 and 2. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. That Uke tire got moved a little bit too close to the racetrack. Happens. Dan Scheller in the 98D held down the 11th, cracking the top 10. The 12 of Zach Simpson. I believe that's his first time this season in Willamette.
It is.
Ryan Baker in the 18R, 9th. Hot Rod McCombs, the 04, was 8th. 7th was the 21 of Steve Moore. Jimmy Schramm showed up and held down the 6th position in the 51 machine.
Showed up scratch. Didn't qualify. Started dead last in the back of the pack and drove his way up towards the front. He had a good run going in the 51 car. That's a good race car. You guys have a chance to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quality piece sitting under Jimmy Schramm.
5th position, the 36 of Lightning John Campos.
Okay.
The 30 of Jeremy Shank, Mr. Smooth himself, was number 4 that night. The 44T of Brian Thompson was 3rd. And then your contender for the points battle in the IMC Modified Division.
Is it something to watch with these guys or what?
Dude, Weinbarger in 2nd, James in 1st. I mean, oh my Lanta.
It's coming down. It's literally going to come down to the final race of the season for the championship. That's how. I mean, the points is so close. It's going to be the last guy to screw up is going to win the title.
Well, look, it was 0.8 difference, but the lap times, 0.04 difference in those two guys. I mean, and they're doing it in 2 divisions.
Right. That's not just the modifieds, the late models are battling. But you know what? Watching Bryson James, you watch him, and this was what was cracking me up because everybody's all about forward bite. Everybody's all about traction, especially on the modifieds where you got such a limited amount of rubber underneath you. The fast guys were either up on the top trying to get what's left of the cushion, or they were down in the tack line on the bottom, down in the gutter. That was where your fast guys were. Now your winner, Bryson James, drove that thing right through the slick all night long and went forward, and they had nothing for him. He ran right through that middle groove, rolled it in nice and smooth, worked the throttle, and that car was going forward, and he was right through the one spot